So let me spotlight the individuals I need here real quick. I just lost, oh, there's Rocio. And okay, so welcome everybody, welcome. This is the second to last event here that we are hosting here at Oxnard College. And again, we are super grateful and thankful for everybody for showing up. A couple of house cleaning notes. So the Eli, who is our presenter today, has asked if you are able to turn on your video, please turn on your video. He likes to have interaction. And for those of you who have attended our previous events, you do know that we drop a survey link and towards the end. Don't be alarmed by that. If you could just complete it, gives us feedback. We always want to learn how we can do better. And then as this is a college sponsored event, please be aware that this event may address mature themes or have certain language. And Eli will let you know when he drops the video. He's going to drop links into the chat that you can click on versus him playing them. I know yesterday we kind of had some technical difficulties with the videos, so he'll have several videos that you can watch, and so just a heads up on that. Other than that, so students, those of you who are activists and getting involved, I can't tell you like how much I encourage that. You know, activism when I was a high school student and a college student is actually how I met Eli. And those are some of the best memories I have. They really are. Like I learned about activism from going to Eli's house and hanging out with Eli and his family. And we organized walkouts, and we, you know, I remember those planning meetings vividly, right? And everything that went on with them. So there's a lot of activism going on now. There's a lot of organizing, and continue to do it and embrace it. And because these are memories that are going to last a lifetime, and just keep fighting that good fight. So thank you, Eli. I'm excited to hear what you have to share, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Amparo. I appreciate it. Thank you to the whole Oxnard community and for all of you that showed up today. Thank you. As she said in the intro, I really got into filmmaking through activism. We would organize national walkouts. During that time, they were trying to make California English only. It was Proposition 187. And you know, we do spend months organizing these walkouts, and then in the news, they play a little 30-minute clip. And we just didn't feel like it represented all the work that we put into it. And a lot of times, even the messaging. So we started documenting it ourselves, telling our own stories. And that's really where I saw the importance of having that power, right? Of be able to construct your own story and represent yourself. And so that's really what drew me to this medium. Also, school was never easy for me. So any of the students out there that school was a bit difficult, they put me in an RSP program, resource specialist program, but it, you know, kids gonna be mean, they would call it retarded and stupid people program. And it's because I'm a visual learner. And luckily I was able to find something that I love, a visual art form, to be able to express myself. So I was able to make it through Cal. I went to NYU for my master's. I made it through NYU, and I was still able to be successful. So even if you don't like school or school's hard for you, you can still use it to your advantage. Use it for what you want. So I'll show you this first video. And it was when I got to NYU, it was my first year. I had been teaching video production at Berkeley High School. And one of the students entered NYU as an undergrad. And this was kind of like our first project. And she's an amazing poet named Shanaka Hodge. And so we connected and we made this video. And I want to encourage all the students again, when teachers give you assignments or when schools give you assignments, don't just do it as an assignment. Make something that you can apply to your life. This video went on to PBS and I still show it to you today. And it's so sad to see you just do a project and then throw it away or put it in a closet somewhere. Like really create something that you're proud of and you put it out into the world. So this has some strong language. If you're not into that, you can skip this one. And it goes really fast, and that's the purpose of it. speak about a lot of things quickly. It's poetry. And try to grab on to as much as you can in terms of words, concepts, what you're seeing, because I want to hear from you after this video. It's only 3 minutes. Enjoy, and I'll see you back here in 3 minutes. The link is in the bio or in the chat.
It's 3:30. I'm watching potential martyrs from
All right, thank you so much. Pure heat, I appreciate that. So let's have a little conversation. Who were the two characters in the video? What was their names? If you can, just unmute yourself and shout it out. Or put it in the chat too. Who got one of their names?
Trina?
Yes, Trina. And the guy's name?
Darius.
Hey, Darius. Yes. What was happening in Trina's life?
She's taking care of a baby, trying to figure it out.
Trying to take care of babies. 13 years old. I assume prostitution, drugs, pregnancy. Yes.
Some people are writing in the chat, being devalued.
Yeah, I'm reading them out.
Okay, right on.
Perfect. Thank you. Couple other things happening in Trina's life. All right, move on to Darius. Her lover died. Did her lover die? Does everybody agree? Anybody remember the line in the poem? The poem says, she's living for her lover's memory, but he's not even dead yet. So I think she was pointing to, we know what happens when you go down that route. A young mom, addiction, poverty, the loss of a loved one, identity. Anna says survival, definitely. That was Darius, right? Okay, let's go on to Darius. What do we know about Darius? Marcella, I think, said, so smart, but wasn't asked those questions, limited options. I think that was about Darius. Does anybody remember a line in the poem or what was happening in Darius's life?
I just remember that detail about eyes are red. You know, and that close up of him after he's been to the liquor store, like that just tells you what his state is much of the time.
And it probably has a double meaning. What do you think, David? What eyes are red? What did you take from it?
Definitely allusion to substance abuse, but then also just exhaustion, right?
Exhaustion.
When our eyes get like that, it's exhaustion, and we might think of that as physical, but that could be mental, emotional, spiritual too.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I was thinking anger, but I think exhaustion definitely too. I appreciate that. No resources, abject poverty, repeat. Yes. Okay. So Shanaka Hodge, the writer of this poem, is watching this through her window on Myrtle Avenue in West Oakland. What two parts of history does she tie into the poem to talk about Darius and Trina's situation? Two very important parts of history. Slavery auction block, yes, you got it. Ba bam bam sold, ba bam bam sold. And it sounds the hem ships, slave ships. Yes. What's the other one? The other one's a little bit harder. You need a hint? Okay, here's the hint. They come into our neighborhood with SUV plates that read close, great. Yes, Marcella again with gentrification. So that's the SUV plates with the bags, right? But she was talking about gentrification to represent what point in history?
The dot bomb, like after the market crashed, 2000.
Close. Good idea, good idea. So the SUV plates that read conquistadores. So she's merging gentrification or using that as an example to talk about what happened with the conquistadores. And what you know, when the Spanish arrived in California and the United States and the Americas, they didn't just get the land because it was given to them. They literally cut off heads, put it on sticks, cut open pregnant women's bellies and said, if you rebel, if you resist, this will happen to you. And I think that's a very important foundation that we must not forget when we're talking about how we want to change society. How does this poem end? How does the video end?
It's got that rapid fire editing technique where it's just series of images, boom, 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 and then just slam on the brakes, stops.
Wonderful, thank you. That is completely the technique. And I created it trying to think outside of the box. This is back when we used to play it on tape. And so I learned that if I scrubbed the timeline on Premiere, that it could record back the video when I scrubbed it. So it's almost like a DJ, and I recorded it back and forth. So trying to create my own technique as I create this artistic expression. And I use the heartbeat to do that boom, 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 and then that break off. Thank you so much, David, for recognizing that. I appreciate that. So what were the last words? How does she end the poem? Heart beating, stop, yes. Entrapment, repetition. I definitely use that repetition a lot because this story repeats itself, right? We see it happen over and over. What's the last line in the poem? Somebody. Help me, help me. Hey, Jocelyn got it. Yee. Thank you, Jocelyn. She said, it's time to care. And what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Do something, call to action, appeal for action. Definitely. Does this ending symbolize the silence of peace through death? Ooh, that's deep, Randall. We can do more. Thank you. Okay, so for me, it's time to care does mean that. It means action. It means doing what you can. And I think for me, it means doing what you love. And I think when I talked to Amparo and the Occidental crew about today's workshop, it was really about our passion. What do we love? And when you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work. And if you do what you love to make this world a better place, I think that's showing that you care. And so that's how I wanted to start today. And yeah, if you have any questions about that or for me at this moment, before we move on to the next one, we can do that now. Yes, please.
Okay, so I was late. I'm really sorry. So I found that the poem is called Barely Audible, and I can't really find a written transcript.
So you can put on closed caption and it will show up on the screen as it's being read. And I think that's the best in terms of a transcription of the poem, because I don't have it. She does have books out where the poem is in the book, but I can't.
I'm looking for it like where it's like written so I can like pinpoint details, especially since I was late.
That's a great idea. I'll try to get that to the organizers of this event, but her name again is called Shanaka Hodge, and the poem is called Barely Audible. And I believe that you'll be able to find it. Thank you. Yes. Any other questions? Eli, so effective holding this gathering with the experience of kinetic life coming into all our sound windows. Thank you, Randall. Can also be the live transcript on YouTube. Okay, that's wonderful. That's good to know. So that ASL interpreter said you could view the live transcript on YouTube. That's wonderful. Okay, so I come from the Bay Area. I'm currently living in Puerto Rico in Borinquen, and I give thanks to the people of this land, the indigenous folks. People call them Taino or Arawak, are the stewardess of this land. And so we give thanks. And before here, I was in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area really molded me, created me. And this is, I'm really interested in sustainable agriculture and what we call now as like just recovery, just transition. What does justice look like? And we'll get into that a little bit later. But here, I'm gonna put this next link in. And this is a project I did with Movement Generation. And it's about, yeah, I think it's about returning to the land, being stewards of the land. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments. This one's a little bit longer, it's 9 minutes. So I'll see you back here in 9 minutes. Thank you. All right. We done with that one? Once we do that, we can do anything, he says at the end there. What are some of your takeaways from that video? What struck you? And I ask if you can during the Q&A to put on your camera, that would be wonderful. I love to see your faces.
What struck me was the healing work that needed to happen in order to be open and receptive to the new work. So that trauma that was addressed in kind of decoding a relationship with the land in order to be receptive to a new relationship. And it speaks volumes to what trickles down to the latest generation from past trauma.
Thank you. I think that's so important. And we could talk about it not just in agriculture too. We could talk about schooling. What happened to indigenous people in schooling? And they use school to strip people of their culture. So they're obviously people are going to be afraid or have trauma around it. And in agriculture the same way. And I really think healing is taking a stronger part of our conversation now. People are thinking about healing in new ways, and it's becoming more popular. And I really love to see that from the generation coming up right now.
Yeah, kind of on a related note, it hit me that at one point in the video, there's that conversation about there's this work being done to push back against systemic problems that exist in certain communities. And it wasn't treating this permaculture endeavor as like a separate, like an either or thing. It's part of that work. Like, yes, we need to be doing this, and this permaculture work goes along with that, even if it's not necessarily the first thing that somebody might think about when they think about, you know, working against systemic racism, working against systemic inequities. So that's a really unique and interesting and creative angle where you're just coupling those two things together and saying, no, this is part of that work. That's part of it.
Thank you so much. And really, I think Movement Generation was able to give me that paradigm, to give me that framework where then I could say, wait, I'm a eco-justice activist. I believe in environmental justice. When I was growing up, it was really about polar bears and like melting ice caps. But when you put a framework saying that we can't have eco-justice without racial justice, without economic justice, without justice overall, then I'm like, yeah, I'm a part of that movement. And it allowed me to feel a part of it. Thank you, David. Yes.
I am very sorry.
Oh, no worries. It'll be real quick. Back to what you said about mainly like how your culture is stripped and like having to go through like all this trial and error just to find it back. Sometimes it can, and also like sometimes it can come within those communities themselves just for their children and generations forward to not deal with the trauma they had to deal with. For my family, at least, like it is obviously it's not as difficult as many others, but it's mainly I never learned Spanish growing up because my parents had a difficult time learning English when they got here. So so now when I see my family back in Mexico, it's so hard to not only relate to them, just to not only talk to them, but relate to them in general, because I can't talk to the other part of me, and it sucks.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing, Ashley. I feel the same way. I wasn't taught Spanish, and it took me like wanting to learn it and moving back to Puerto Rico and saying, you know, this is part of my culture that I want to hold on to do that. And I think, you know, that's a part of assimilation. And like you said, I think our parents did it so that we had an easier life in the United States, right? So when we're talking about eco-justice too, what I really loved about the video is saying that actually we have some of the answers, right? And those answers have been taken from us. But when we talk about groundwater specialists and we look at the indigenous man saying, you know, we only get so much rainfall a year. We've been doing this with centuries and centuries. And so, you know, we're groundwater specialists. We've been doing this. So looking at ancient ways and practices and bringing them forward, I think is really important as well. Anna, back to you.
I was just saying that I find it interesting that there's people in this world still who live just like us, and they don't live in like, excuse me, that live just like the way people did like back then, like thousands of years ago, and they're not in a third world country.
Thank you. Yes, I think that what we hear in eco-justice is like sacrifice zones, which are basically sacrificing communities that don't have power. And so that's even the words that they use is saying, we're gonna put a chemical plant in this community. We're gonna put a highway through this community. And if you look at the numbers, it's always the poorest communities that exist in the area. So thank you for bringing that forward. Or a liquor store, definitely. Connection to the earth that we are all a part of, yes. Any last comments on this one before we move on to the next? Yes, continue, Anna, please.
Thank you, but can you please call me Anna Rose? I prefer that actually.
No problem, Anna Rose. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have one more thing to say, or just to add before you round this out, if I may.
Please.
If anyone in this is interested in actually, picking up some shovels and planting some trees and learning more about eco-justice and permaculture, Earth Day is coming up next week. Actual Earth Day is on the 22nd. And on the 24th, on Saturday, we'll be planting trees in the curbways along the west side in Ventura down on the avenue. It's an excellent opportunity for you to meet people that are actually doing this work in your local community. So you're all welcome to join us if you like.
That's beautiful, Jason. Thank you for bringing that home for people. The Central Valley is a place that feeds the world. And so when we think about agriculture, we think about monocropping, and we see that relationship to immigrant communities taking care of the land. I think this is a huge part of the healing process that needs to happen right there where you are, Oxnard, Ventura, in the Central Valley.
Well, there's so much there's all kinds of statistics and information about how just even canopy, there's a direct relationship to tree canopy and basically social harmony, I guess you could kind of say it, like drop in crime rates, drop in all kinds of negative social impact directly related to the amount of tree canopy you have in your neighborhood. So planting trees is an excellent way to solve a lot of these situations.
I love that. I think one of the quotes in the video is talking about creating the alternative, to not spend our lives resisting and fighting, right? I think the resist and the fight is important, but let's spend as much time in creating the alternative, creating how we want this world to look. And so I'm really excited about that.
Eli, Marion had her hand up. I believe she has a question.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to share my perspective of that beautiful imagery that you gave us. Took me right back to my family and the generations of, our knowledge that's passed through our culture from one generation after another. And it just makes me understand the organic knowledge. I'm like, I don't know, third, fourth generation from Mexico, but yet I'm first out of all my family as a woman to go through higher education. So when I see the video and we go back to the land and the planting of the food and the soil, it reminds me of my great grandparents who, came from Mexico at the turn of the century. They fled Mexico that was in, dire straits with the water. And yet their knowledge, they were able to get jobs quickly because they had that whole background of agriculture, understanding hydrology and videology, everything. And so now it's kind of like a revisit how, they went from Michoacan to Kansas, and in Garden City, Kansas, what was big was the beef industry. And so, we see what we saw in the imagery was like the agriculture, but I'm thinking like of the family aspect of it. Like my family, they got the leftovers. So we ate the pigs and cow stomachs and the bucha, the neck, and everything they threw away is what we got. And so if you ever try to go now and buy a beef tongue, it's like $16 a pound. So it made me revisit like all those things growing up and just the culture of how we were taught to think and feel and grow. And it was beautiful imagery. So thank you. And I do believe it's like that whole industry of food and seeking justice, and how we look at not only the United States, but the diabetes. That's the huge thing. People are contracting diseases because of the food industry and the chemicals, and we can go on and on. But just all that imagery helped me feel a reconnection to the land, the earth, and the simplicity, just the organic knowledge. So thank you.
Yes.
And now I get it, Artivism. So
Artivism, you got it.
When I saw the name of the workshop, I thought Artivism. Oh, this is going to be awesome. It really is. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you. So sweet. And thank you for sharing some of your personal story. I really enjoyed that.
I was trying to make connection. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yes. So I want to talk about like in plant life, we know the importance of diversity. Monocropping is not the way, right? And so we need to work on our relationship, heal our relationship with the earth, and we also need to heal our relationship with each other. And so I feel like they're parallel. And when we talk about ecological diversity, we also talk about cultural diversity. And I think from the powers that be, both of those were not the direction that they wanted. They wanted monocropping, big business, and they wanted to push this American look, talk, lifestyle, American dream, one size fits all, and this is what it is. And I think we know that that's not the way forward. Time, history, science shows that that's not it. And so I'm also very interested in cultural diversity. So now we're gonna take a trip and travel to Cuba, which was my last film. And it's a genre called Baco Soul, about Afro beats. Anybody listen to Afrobeat? Yay, a couple of people. So it's about Afro beats arriving in Cuba. I put that link in there. It's gonna be only a 3-minute trailer to the film. I look forward to seeing you back here in a second.
Eli, it says the video is private. You're muted.
Capital BPM is the password. Capital BPM. All right. Thank you guys. It's a pleasure to be able to share that film with you. So the big news is that it's going to air nationwide on your local PBS station on May 3rd. So you can watch it. We just got distribution. Super excited about that. Thank you. And what else? Any thoughts, ideas? What did you like about it? What did you see?
The two words that kept coming to mind are just joyful and vibrant. Like literally in everything, from the sounds coming through my speakers to the colors and the community and everybody playing dominoes and visiting, everything, just like life, you know, like, yeah.
Thank you, David.
I love the music, and I loved all the film, the whole 9 yards, the dancing, and I really like that what he noted about African culture has no boundaries, and it's so true. And I just really enjoyed this one, the Latino, you know, and I really truly enjoyed that aspect of it because it forms part of all of our culture in the Latino community. And I would think so in the African community too, but it's so much so strong. I feel it. So thank you. Love this one.
Thank you. So growing up in California as a Boricua, as somebody with descendants from Puerto Rico, I grew up with a lot of Mexicanos, Chicanos, and a lot of Black folks, and there wasn't a big Caribbean population. And I felt like it was something with my first film that I made was about Cuban hip hop. And I felt me, like even who I am, really felt like a bridge for these two communities. And to show our similarities and to show similar struggles. And so I kind of take on that role. I love to show how we are connected.
I grew up in the Chicago area.
Oh, a lot of Boricuas over there.
You know, I'm from Mexican descent. So, and the Black is in all of us, it's very diverse community out there. And I truly feel the rhythms with this. And yeah, very much. I belong to a dance group out in Chicago, Folklorico. And our instructor paired off with an Afro-Cuban instructor who did, you know, the congas and the dance, and he had his own dance group, and they switched our dance groups. So and my group got to go and learn Afro-Cuban jazz dance, and those dancers came over to Folklorico, and it was so fun. I will say that I will always value that upbringing in my past.
Oh,
Muy bien, gracias.
Gracias a usted. So there's a huge, there's a documentary called The Rainbow Coalition out of Chicago right now. And I want to encourage you all to go to the PBS website and look at it. It's about how poor white communities, the Black Panthers, and the Young Lords all came together to work against police brutality, housing segregation. And these are stories that they don't tell us in our schools, but we can unite and fight for justice together. And it really inspired me. Let's read some of these.
I'm sorry, we in Chicago, we had what was called the Organization of Latin American Students, and yes, Young Lords, and I'm dating myself, but what the hey, and yeah, Latinos and, you know, Chicanos.
Thank you. I feel the music in my blood. The scenery was beautiful. Everyone who was featured in the trailer were so proud to share a piece of their culture, and the beats were fire, Destiny says. I feel very closely with this film. My great-grandfather was Cuban, and this is definitely a part of my history that I'm proud of. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're coming to a close. I want to tell you about the newest project. It's not released yet, and it's really about here in Puerto Rico. I came after the hurricane to check on family, and I found a community rebuilding itself, and they needed resources. And the next thing you know, we were putting up houses, and we were mapping the area and doing census about what people needed. So it became a idea of just transition. What does justice look like in transition, right? And it wasn't throwing water out of helicopters. That's not what the people needed. And it's really like a ground up. You have skills in the community, you have resources. How do you get them what they need to build the future that they want? And I think that even after COVID, after a pandemic, this is really what we want. We don't want to just return to what it was. We want to envision what it could be and make that a reality. And so I was super inspired by young people leading this. Enjoy the film. Oh, also before we show it, I want to talk about extraction, because we look at the land as something to extract from, right? And so in this field of documentary filmmaking, a lot of times we extract stories. And so I'm really interested in the idea of non-extractive filmmaking. How do you make films alongside a community, not about a community? And how do you teach them video production and editing to be able to tell their own stories and have them be a process? So at the same time, we're talking about just storytelling, we're talking about just transition. And I'm really trying to parallel these two ideas. And it's a framework that I'm still developing. Okay, enjoy. There's the trailer. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Randall. See you back in 3 minutes. Thank you. Emily says a just recovery with the heart. Wonderful. I just put in principles and praxis about storytelling. If you're interested in non-extractive storytelling, here's some ideas that we've come up with collectively. So I shared those with you. And so we're still working on this film. It's going to be done in a few months. We're super excited to be able to share that with you. Let's see. The website is Fist Up TV if you want to see more. Spike Lee came down here to Puerto Rico and did a series called She's Gotta Have It Too. I was hired on that team. So if you want to check that out, he was, that's somebody I looked up to my whole life, and it was an honor to be able to work with him. What else is happening? Yeah, we have a solar cinema project here in Puerto Rico where we go from town to town showing documentaries and films, bringing the community together. And you can find that at defendpr.com. You see a lot of other content there. It's a whole transmedia storytelling project that I co-founded. So you can see a lot of videos there. I just put one up 2 days ago about bomba, our traditional dance and music. So check that out. And any last things? What about y'all? What do you think? Any last words, comments about the new film about Ana Rose? Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, please share.
Okay, so this reminds me too. My mom is a speech pathologist and she works for ASHA, and she has gone to Puerto Rico a couple of times for a business trip, and she's fascinated about the culture there. And she told me about the hurricane. It's very interesting seeing how it impacted all these people. My mom was telling me about how bad it was, but now I got to see it for myself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, it impacted me so much. I was actually doing a exhibit in Oakland, California, and we heard that Hurricane Maria was coming. So we made it into a fundraiser and people donated funds, but then people were saying that they couldn't get the funds to Puerto Rico. So then I decided I'll go out there and help distribute it. And when I got here and I met that community, I felt like I had to stay and help put up tarps and help rebuild houses. And I called my brother back and I said, I'm not coming back. Can you move me out of the apartment? And it's been almost 4 years now that I'm here on the island. And it's just been amazing. I felt like, talking about living with purpose, it really filled me with so much love and a connection to the island that I didn't have. And I just feel so happy to be here. And if we think about that we're coming to help, we already got it wrong. We're coming to learn, we're coming to be a part of, and we are not saviors and we do not know what's best. We're here to learn. Thank you for the important work. Jenny Luna, thank you. You're amazing. You're amazing. Wonderful. Thank you. Any last words before we wrap up? I see so much love in the comments. So thank you. Anna Rose, yes, please.
Thanks for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
These videos are very interesting to see, and it's great to see the inside of how people live in different parts of the world and what their cultures are like.
Thank you. It's such an honor and pleasure to be able to spend this time with you and share some of what I love. David, were you going to say something? David, were you going to say something? Yeah.
Oh, I just in the chat, I just said, like, just the last hour has been just this beautiful, vivid declaration about just the power of story and how, a lot of times the way that we receive information that hits us the hardest, it's not in the formal classroom setting. It's with these stories, these films that you're capturing, and so many links and stuff to unpack later on. So congratulations to all your success, and just thank you for all that you taught us in the last hour.
Oh, thank you so much. And I believe that too. Like that frontline activism is important. Let's continue to do that. But let's build community. Let's continue to tell stories and welcome people in so that we can all get new perspectives. We have one more, but I got you, Anna Rose, next, but somebody else was it Dolores? Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize that all of the themes were really tied to how a white supremacist structure has impacted the people on this land, right? From the very first poem to the permaculture movement. And something that struck me in the final trailer that we just saw is one of the women said, when this went down, the government did not have our back. And I just love how the permaculture video is saying, we have our own back, we got us. And actually, this is actually from a project from Oakland.
Yeah, that's my people, Cece, that's my family.
Yeah, so I just, you know, just the idea of self-sufficiency, we have to have our own back. We have to become self-sufficient. And that's where we need to invest, because when it goes down like a hurricane, we already know the infrastructure is not there for us. So I just want to thank you for your work.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. Yes, Anna Rose.
I'm curious, do you do all these independent film projects, or are you like with Hollywood, you direct like big movies? Or both?
So that's a great question. I didn't even get a chance to talk about it. So I really took my own route because I didn't have money to hire a crew. And so when I went to NYU, I didn't go through the regular film school. What a film school will do will teach you directing, lighting, sound, or like a very particular thing. What I did was interactive art. And so I had to learn everything. I learned how to do sound and lighting and camera and produce, and so that I could do these projects, and I wouldn't let my money limit or say, let somebody else dictate whether I could do the project or not. I was gonna do it. So it really started off guerrilla filmmaking, and like the agriculture one I did all by myself. There was no crew. What was the other one? The school one, it was me and another student, Vivian. But then as I started continuing my work, I was able to get money to hire a crew. And it's a new art form when you do it at a new level, and I really enjoy it. So I bring that independent filmmaking to my larger projects. And so that's what you see with the Bacoso, and the new one, We Still Here, is that kind of independent spirit, but now working with a team, people that are professional in everything that they do. That was a great question. I really, kind of like the artistic process behind it.
Thank you, Eli. This has been phenomenal, and I hope everybody's able to get their questions answered. We do have our next event. Give you a quick break. There's another event going on at 1:15, Disability Justice 101 on another on a different link. But this has been fabulous, and David's right. There's a lot going on in Puerto Rico, and the way you film it, right? It just, there's so much power behind it. So again, I'm beyond appreciative that you were able to do this with us. And thank you everybody for attending, and we hope you enjoyed it. And then Eli, if you want to stick around a little bit while everybody leaves. Thanks, everybody.
I just put my Instagram in there at FistUpTV. My email is Eli@FistUpTV. Continue to be in touch. Follow on Instagram. Tag me in the work that you're doing locally. Let's connect. Definitely, Gabriela. Let's connect. Let's meet in person when this pandemic is over. I can't wait to go to Oxnard and be with y'all. Thank you.